Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is MiAh the King, and happy late Father's Day out there, everybody. I was loved and spoiled by my family yesterday and had a good old time. But now it's back to work, and today we're taking a look at a game called Industries of Titan, a game developed and published by Brace Yourself Games, which, I just gotta say, I love their name. That's just awesome. Brace Yourself Games, I love it. So in this game, you create a sprawling industrial city, compete with the other rival corporations of Titan for resources, territory, and power. Do battle with ships, technology, influence, or the sheer productive power of your factories. Stake your claim to the industries of Titan in this innovative sim/strategy game thing. Okay, well, now you done did it. You said it's innovative. I suppose I'll have to be the judge of that now. And it kind of sounds a little bit like Factorio, doesn't it? Well, it's tagged as City Builder, Simulation, and Strategy, which is funny because literally just yesterday I was talking to my wife about how I really needed a new casual simulation city building kind of game to keep my attention slightly while sitting around rewatching the entire Friends series, which I've been doing lately. Oh, and by the way, just a heads up, I don't really care about this game. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not very super excited to do this. I'm not like one of those guys who's been following it. And when I did discover it, I didn't just get all super hyped for it. Instead, I just thought, well, I'm gonna have to review that now, aren't I? And here I am. So don't expect me to be jumping for joy or shouting in anger on this one. I just don't really feel extreme either way. Also, keep in mind that this game is in early access, so things like unfinished content or bugs and glitches will be given a bit of leeway in my mind. So, first up, we'll go with the pros and the cons. Now, before we get too deep into that, just keep in mind that I'm just being honest here, and my review here is only based within the first hour to 2 hours of gameplay, which I've stated earlier in my videos, which, why I think those first 2 hours are so important, which is why I can even do this. So please, just keep that in mind as we move forward. Thank you. So, first up for the positives. Number one, the game's sound effects are what I need to talk about first here. The music is great. It's real bumping and jumping and fun to listen to. I mean, the sound effects for the world are just average, and there's no real ambiance sound here, like, at all. But, I mean, hey, at least that music is pretty damn good, and it sticks around the whole time, so that's gotta count for something, right? Oh, and in regards to sound, the voice acting, yes, there is voice acting here, and from what I could tell, it's all really well done, well acted, well written, and overall sounds good, and, fits the game's style. Number two, for the positives, the game offered some innovation. Well, at least it kind of delivered on that front. Now, it's not like it's the next big thing that you just can't miss out on, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of interesting. You not only build the buildings and manage resources and whatnot on the outside in the overall view of your city, but you get to go into each building and customize how it works on the inside as well. You can upgrade your buildings and get yourself several floors packed full of goodies that you want or need as you're progressing throughout the game. As ships are fighting over your buildings, their lasers can pierce inside, possibly destroying stuff or killing your civilians/employees. So that's all really cool. There's even a way to connect your building's power grids together. So you can designate one building as a habitation building, another one as an energy building, and another one as a production building. But keep in mind, you got to go into each of those buildings and manually build it that way. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, but that's about the most innovation this game has. So if that doesn't really get you running, then you're not going to find anything else here that's new or innovative besides that. Number three, the game is complicated, but not in a way that makes it difficult to learn. Like, I was incredibly confused and overwhelmed when I first started and first got hit by all this stuff. But if you just take your time to read and actually pay attention to what's going on around you during the tutorial, then you'll pick it up easily enough and figure out what you're doing within the first hour or so. Speaking of which, number four, the game has a tutorial. Thank goodness for that. Any game that doesn't have tutorials nowadays gets a really big thumbs down from me and a very long, annoying, and pointless rant. This game has one, and it's so nice. It's programmed into the game's story by introducing you to your constant advisors throughout every mode you play. Each one taking you through the motions of learning how to develop and expand, etc. And it's nice and simple. It's easy, basic steps to slowly just ease your way into the game and help you learn and play. So if this whole video looks really confusing, maybe a bit too much for you, like there's too much going on or too much information and there's no context, so you don't know what, don't worry, okay? The tutorial does wonders for helping you figure out what you're doing and how to go further. And number five, my last positive, real simple, real easy, real quick. I didn't discover any bugs or glitches that I could straight up say and put my life on the line this was a bug or a glitch. I have a few suspicions, but for the most part, I didn't really see any bugs or glitches that stood out in a way that really needs to be mentioned, and so I consider that a positive. It ran very smooth. In fact, I think before the sound and the music that got my attention was how smooth everything was running. So I just wanted to add that in. So that's all I've got for the positives. Next up is the negatives. But before we go into that, if you find yourself enjoying this video or finding it informative, then please do me a favor and support my channel's growth. All you gotta do is hit that like button or leave me a comment. But if you really want to help, then hit that subscribe button and that bell so you can see whenever I put out new stuff. Hey, just because you don't like this game or this video doesn't mean you won't like others that I put out, so please check them out. Oh, and feel free to share my videos as well. I mean, I need as much help as I can get with advertisement, so thank you very much for that. Okay, so now we go on to the negatives. So the first for the negatives that I've got is the constructs don't always work very well together. Like, for instance, it tells you that you have to build this processor thingy inside one of your buildings. So you build it. Then it wants you to attach 5 different really big attachments to this processor. Now, all of those attachments are necessary for the quest in this tutorial, or it's not going to work at optimum efficiency, right? However, the processor cannot fit all 5 of those attachments onto it. So, was that a design choice? Are you supposed to build 2 of them and have them connect? Because I tried that. That didn't work very well for me. So, is it just poor development then? I don't know. It's hard to tell, but to me it looks like an oversight, and it's super duper annoying trying to deal with this when you're trying to get everything to fit inside your small buildings, and you're trying to get everything to look good and work good and everything else, and then you have something like this that just has the wrong dimensions. Number 2 for the negatives. The resources need a little work. Not only are they poorly explained, and for example, I mean, it talks about salvaging ruins, but doesn't mention anything about the raw resources on the ground nearby. Now obviously I can figure that one out on my own, because I did, but without the game telling me that little bit of extra info, then I'm just assuming that I'm doing this right, with no real answers as to whether I'm actually doing it right or not, like no confirmation. And here's another problem that I ran into. What happens when you run out of resources? Because I did. Is it just game over? Because my game didn't end, but I couldn't progress any further. So is that just it? You just can't progress any further? Because if that's true, then that's a pretty shitty little glitch in your game right there. I need resources to expand further. However, by the time I need to expand to get more resources, I'm out of resources, and therefore cannot use resources to expand my territory. Is this making any sense to anybody? Let me put it in a very simple, easy way to look at it. It's like this. Really simple and easy. I have to get all the sand out of the sandbox, but I have to use a bucket to do it, and I don't have any other tools. And the only bucket that I happen to have, which a bucket is required, you have to use a bucket, can't use anything else, and the only bucket I have has a big old hole in it. So every time I go to move sand out of the sandbox, it goes through the hole in the only bucket available, and I am unable to make any progress because the sand that I pick up through the bucket keeps falling out through the bucket back into the sandbox. That's basically the resource situation here. You basically use something to get something, you run out of something to get that something, but then you need that exact same something to get something else, but you can't because you ran out of that something. Does it? If this is still confusing you, I can't help you, but you're free to say something in the comments and I'll try to talk to you about it there. Maybe if I write it out. That's basically the resource situation. So you're going to have to go in knowing that you're going to run out of resources and start prepping to expand long before the game ever tells you to do so. In its tutorial, it never mentioned expanding, at least not in my hour and a half of gameplay. And sure, a lot of you might be thinking, well, that's obvious. Obviously, you want to prepare for expanding before you get there. But they don't tell you how to expand, and by the time you get far enough in the tutorial that you learn how to expand, you're almost out of resources. And it's like, unless you've been hoarding them and doing nothing except what the tutorial has been asking you to do, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And that just doesn't really make any sense, and that's not really any fun. So, number 3 for the negatives, the price. This might be, you know, a little bit iffy to some people, and even me, I could go back and forth on this, but I feel like $30 is just way too expensive for a game like this. I spent the majority of my time playing this game just sitting around and watching minute changes happen every couple of minutes, until after several of those waiting sessions, I finally had either the money or the resources to actually do something. Now I know that Factorio is also $30 and also offers you pretty much the same thing this game does, but where I never played Factorio, I can't really compare these two very well, but I don't even agree with Factorio's price tag. I feel like these games should be 20 bucks tops. I mean, and that's just in my opinion. $30, seriously, that's just a bit too much for me. I mean, but just a bit, I mean, it's just a little bit too much for me. I mean, because there is a lot of stuff here. So, I don't know, I guess it's up to you guys. I personally think it might be too much, but after hearing all the positives, if you still think that it's worth that price tag, then, well, I mean, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. And number 4 and last of the negatives, the game is just slow. Every little thing is just super slow. I had to double check and make sure that I was on the fast forward button several times because of how slow everything is taking. I mean, isn't the point of the fast forward button to make you feel like things are going by faster? Well, not in this game apparently. Even with the fast forward button pressed, it was still slogging along at a snail's pace. It was just so damn slow. And it was just when things were happening, it was kind of interesting. It was a little fun, but you run into like a wall, and then you have to wait, and then you get to do stuff for a little bit, and then you run into another wall, and you gotta wait, and it's really annoying. It doesn't need to be that way. There should always be something for you to do. I guess that's my thing about it being slow, is that when you had to wait, you had to just wait and do nothing, and that was just really annoying. So that's all I've got for my pros and cons. I guess just on to my final thoughts. As of this moment, I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep this game or not. I honestly have no clue. I mean, I was looking for a game exactly like this, one where I can sit around playing it while watching TV and not have to worry about getting into it too much. And while this game almost scratches that very odd particular itch, I still feel like I really need to focus and pay attention to it because of how complicated it is, which defeats the whole playing it while I'm watching TV purpose. I mean, I can't even tell you how many things were going wrong on my first playthrough, but with no explanations as to why. Like, why wasn't any of my civilians doing the job thing that I installed in my building? I had access to them, I had power, I had everything they needed, and yet they weren't working to get me credits, and there was no explanation as to why. So, I don't know. It's an early access, so, I mean, they want me to pay $30 for a demo to be their beta tester. I'm not really into paying for that kind of thing unless the game really blows me away in those first 2 hours, or if it's doing something super new or super innovative and it just needs to be supported, and this game isn't really doing any of that for me. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see. But for the rest of you out there, I mean, if you're here to see how awesome this game is, well, I hope you can at least understand my negative points from where I'm sitting, but you probably are already going to buy this game. And for those of you out there who are on the fence and not sure what you're going to do, now, those are the people I'm primarily talking to. For those people, it's all up to you. It's not up to anybody else. This is all the gameplay that you've been watching. There's nothing hidden. The only thing I couldn't show you guys was the combat, and that's because I just didn't get to it in my time frame that I limit myself with. But, I mean, yeah, this will still be the majority of your gameplay, even before and after the combat. This is mostly what you're going to be doing the whole time. It's what you've been watching. Is it fun? I mean, sure, I guess. It's a city builder, so if you love city builder simulation resource management games that really take their time and give you a lot of information, then, you know, this is pretty much perfect for you. But if you don't like the sound of that, and if you didn't like the look of this, then you're better off looking somewhere else. The game is pretty good overall. Not great, but not terrible either. I mean, if I had to give it a rating, which I don't because this isn't a deep dive review, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, and that's mostly because it's an early access. I think it's slightly above average in terms of city builders, which is already a compliment, and it's not even fully released yet. So I guess overall, that's just my final overall thought. In early access, it's slightly above average, and it's, you know, that's a compliment for most city builders, so take that for what you will. So, thank you all so much for watching my video. Please don't forget to support my channel by hitting the like button, the subscribe button, the bell, or leaving me a comment. Thanks again, everybody who stopped by and watched, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.